It's a bad time to be an NFL coach. Maybe there's never a bad time to be an NFL coach. As far as the payday goes, they make millions a year, but there's a bunch of them that are out of work right now after these last few weeks. I don't know, what are we up? 8 or 10 coaches out of the 32 that have been fired now, and there's maybe 1 or 2 more to go. I don't know what you have to do to keep your job in the NFL. I hope they know that only one team is going to win the Super Bowl and everybody else is going to finish second or worse. And I understand that, you know, these owners have a right to have high expectations, but man, it's gotten a little bit out of control. Don't you want to win at work? I want to ask you a question here as we start the podcast today. I'm excited about you joining us here for the Chasing Greatness podcast. We're in our new format. We're talking about winning at work here on Monday, and then we'll do win at home Wednesday. And ultimately, our Friday show this year is going to be about winning in life. But let's talk about winning at work today. And watching all these guys get fired the last few weeks has made me ask myself a question. What would I have to do in my own personal work to hold myself to the standard that these billionaire owners are holding these guys? And the truth is, for me, I'm sort of the owner of my own company. I'm the owner of my own deal, and I need to be making sure I'm holding myself to a really high standard. But when I think about winning at life, that's important. We talk about it Friday. When I think about winning at home, that really is very important to me. Those things may be higher to me, or they are higher to me really than even winning at work, or I'll just call them balanced. I think if we don't win at work, I'm still not sure we're winning. I always say on Wednesdays, if you win at work and you lose at home, you still lose. But if you don't win at work, you still lose as well. And so let's talk about winning at work. And today I want to give you a little bit of a framework to think about that. It goes back several years. I don't know, maybe it was 10 or 11 years ago, I started thinking about trying to help more leaders. I wasn't full-time in my company like I am now. I've been doing this now nearly 8 years, which is kind of crazy when I look back. But even before that, 3 or 4 years before that, I had started a blog. Remember blogs back in the day? And we're still blogging some, or we're going to blog some this year to kind of put some stuff out there just to help a little more content, give people something to think about. But you remember blogging? It was real big. I was blogging every day. It was crazy. I'll never forget. It's like the tide every night coming in. It's like a new blog had to be posted for tomorrow. I never was several weeks ahead. So that was not my style. I just tried to write something every night, and don't think that was impressive because my blogs weren't very long, maybe 300 words. I could get it all done in about an hour. But I spent several years doing about 5 posts a week, and I don't know, we got over 1,000 posts when it was all said and done with that, and those things are still out there floating around. Maybe we'll repost some of those, and because I think there was some stuff that at least helped me to think about it. Maybe it'll be helpful to you. But when I started that, I was it wasn't even Randy Gravett at the time. I mean, that was my name, but it was not, we didn't have that domain. I thought it was cool to have this thing, Eye to Eye Leadership is what I called it. And the eyes there were 2 eyes, and those eyes were really what I want to talk to you about today. Because I think when we want to win at work, there are 2 sides to that really make winning possible. And I think if you have one without the other, you're still going to struggle. So let me kind of give you my 2 eyes. So what I said back in the day was I wanted to be called to integrity. I think the integrity side of our leadership, the integrity side of our work is so important. It's foundational, honestly. It's kind of the base of what we call the iceberg. We talk about an iceberg when you think about your picture of leadership. It's important to have a picture of what you think about. And when I think about leadership, I think about that underneath the surface of the water. I think about that iceberg. There's a lot more going on. I think it's maybe 4th, 5th grade science. You did learn. You may have forgotten it, but if it's been a while, let me remind you, there's about 90% is going on below the waterline, and there's about 10% above, and that represents your skills. I want to change that language a little bit today as I think about it. But I do want to think about character And then I want to think about influence. The two words here would be integrity and influence. Those were my two I's. So I was saying we're called to integrity, but we need to be committed to influence. It's not integrity for integrity's sake. It's integrity really to position ourselves to be whole personally, but also professionally to be able to maximize our opportunity to help other people. And so I want to just think about winning at work. I want that to sort of be our lens that we think about this week as we go into a new week. And really, as you think about your work, even moving forward, I think it's really important to have this lens to look through. So let's talk about being called to integrity here for just a second. And I like the word integrity, but there's another word maybe I even like better, and it's the old math word integer. It's actually the word, it's where we get the word integrity from. And the first time we see this word used in the history of the world, as far as I can tell, is in it's an old book of the Bible and the Scriptures, a book called Job. And Job was a guy who there's kind of a wild conversation going on. It's, I don't even know what to make of it, but God and the devil are having this conversation, and God makes this statement. He says, "Have you considered my servant Job?" He's bragging on his child, his creation, which is kind of cool. How much God thinks about you and how much He loves us. It's pretty wild when you think about it. We're made in His image. We talked about that last week. And so as you think about this conversation, he says, have you considered my servant Job? He's a man of integrity. And I love that. I love that idea that God recognized the integrity of this man. And it's literally in the Hebrew, they tell me, I'm not a Hebrew scholar, but they tell me that when he says integrity there, it's our math word integer. What he's saying is, this guy is the whole number. He is integrated, if you want to think about it. And it's kind of cool because our company is, our leadership company is called Integrate. And that's why we named it that. It's the great, we spell GREAT because it's about high performance. But the integer part on the front side, it's to remind us that we're trying to help people grow their businesses, yes. But if they do that and they don't get the other part of life right, and there needs to be this holistic process, which we teach and train the companies, and that's a lot of fun. But as you think about your life, is it whole? Do you have an integrated life? Do you have a soul, a life, a family, and your work, what we're talking about today? Do you have a set of values that drive the way you behave at work? Do you have a set of principles that are really guiding you? Do you have a vision? All those things, as you think about being integrated at a character level, where you say something and then you follow through with that. You're not disintegrated or blown apart. I know so many leaders, it just seems like they don't have this part sewn up. And I mean, we can think about presidents or any kind of politicians. We can think about preachers. We can think about athletes and actors and all kind of people through the years who have had these positions of influence, and they really have not forgot how to communicate, make a speech, lead a meeting, build a team, solve a problem. They've forgotten how to take care of their personal character. And because of that, they have disqualified themselves from their influence in so many ways. And so I think this is so important. As you go into a new week, and really as you go into the rest of this year, I would challenge you to ask yourself, am I really locked in on my integrity? Do I have a holistic mindset when it comes to my work? I'm showing up. If I'm the leader, many of you are leaders who listen, I understand that the leader's voice is the loudest voice, and the way I speak to people and the way I talk to people, all that stuff is integrated. It's rooted in integrity. Everything going on beneath the surface of the waterline at a character level makes me a leader that others would trust and want to follow. Can you say that? I mean, that really is, I think about my work, that's what I want to be said about me, is that I want to follow that guy because he's got the right heart. He's got the right kind of integrity. But that's not enough. So it is foundational, but it's not enough. We've got to also have the skill side of our leadership. And And that's about being able to cast vision for people and to develop people and to multiply your influence through the lives of the people around you, to be able to do things differently and reinvent. And there's just so many things that go into the skill to get better at communicating if you're a communicator, or leading meetings better, building better teams. Whatever it is you do want to take your skill level to the next level. You want to level up that. But as my friend Mark Miller always says, if your heart's not right, nobody cares about your skills. And so I think it's important for us to remind ourselves of just how important that character side is, the integrity side is. That's foundational. And then the skills are what really propel us to be able to influence others. So today, as you begin a new week, I just have a couple of questions for you. As you think about your integrity, as you think about your character, as you think about really that foundational piece of your life and leadership, where do you have maybe a little crack in the system here? I mean, is there a place where you're just going, it's not quite what it ought to be? If God were looking at my character, he would not be able to say, have you considered my servant? Fill in your name there. She's a woman of integrity, or he's a man of integrity. There's a hint of a crack, or you've compromised a little bit. There's a place in your life maybe where that's happening. And if that's true, man, I would just encourage you today, really come clean with that, with yourself. Admit to yourself, this is where I am. This is where I've got a gap in my personal integrity, and close that gap. No one ever wakes up and really blows their character in one moment. It's this slow, subtle erosion away from really where we want to be, where we know we should be. And so if there's a place today where you've got a little erosion going on, you've got a little bit of slippage going on, you're just not quite where you need to be. Let's close that gap back. Let's return back to where we need to be and make sure that we got it buttoned up below the waterline, the part people don't see, the private parts of our lives. If there's anything there that's not where it needs to be, it's going to affect your work at some point. Your character is it's just key to having that foundation, so you can really maximize your influence. And then on the second side, let's close those character gaps. But is there a place this year where, as you go into the next few months, you would say, I want to develop my skills in this area? You've got talent, you've got these great ideas, you've got these projects in mind, you've got dreams. Maybe I would just really encourage you to get better this year. Pick one area and say, I'm going to level up in this area and really try to get better. And you may need a mentor, you may need a coach, you may need to go back to your boss, you may need to go to a coworker who can hold you accountable. You may need to get some books that, you can sit with that author for a few hours, and you may not be able to meet with them one-on-one, but you can meet with them really just letting their words kind of sink in, taking notes, like how can you take your skill to the next level? So that's today's episode. If we're going to really win at work, I'm convinced there's a couple things that have to be in place. First of all, we have to be not just saying we want to have integrity, but I think we have to be called to integrity. We really have to say, this is a calling. This is something that I have really got to put my heart in the right place if I'm going to have ultimately the right opportunity to influence. So we're called to integrity. We're committed to influence. Those two I's, they were relevant 10, 11 years ago for me. They were relevant my whole life, really, as I look back. And they are no less relevant today for me, and I'm convinced they're no less relevant to you. So let's work on our character. Let's close those gaps, and then let's try to level up in one of our skill areas this year, knowing that others are going to benefit from that. There's an interesting thing when you look at the life of Job. I'll just mention this last thing here. I think it'll help us. His wife, if you go back and read this book of the Bible, it's kind of crazy. His wife, because Job was suffering with he had been afflicted by the devil, and he's got all this stuff going on. His family's in calamity. His body, his health is out the window. He's really struggling. And his wife, here was her advice to him. She says, "Curse God and die. Curse God and die." Now, I mean, think about that. Your spouse tells you, curse God and die. This is bad. I mean, so this is going on. And then there's a verse that you go several chapters in, everybody get 30 chapters or so into Job. And there's a little verse tucked in there We'll try to maybe put the reference in the notes here, but here's what he says. Job says, I have made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a girl. Now, what in the world does that have to do with winning at work? Here's the deal. When you think about this, Job made a covenant. It was a covenant is a vertical agreement that he had made with God. He realized that he had been given this life. He's going through some bad circumstances right now, but he makes this vertical agreement with God not to be impure in the way he looked at people. I mean, he's not, I don't know about pornography then or anything, but he's like, this is not going to be a part of my life. I am committed to certain things. I'm going to keep that agreement, because it was not even about his wife. I mean, had it been about his wife, she's saying, curse God and die. So it was not a commitment he had made to his wife. It was a vertical commitment. Now, here's the cool thing. Because he made this vertical covenant with God, his wife got the benefit of that. She didn't deserve the benefit, but she got the benefit. That's pretty cool if you ask me. And so here's the deal. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about winning at home and being faithful to your spouse and all that stuff. That's great. But as you think about your work, if you have your character right and you are rightly thinking about your life, the people around you will get the benefit of that. And that's what I love. It's when I think about chasing greatness, it's not just about you being great. It really is about helping other people win and helping other people be great as well. So this week, if you get your character locked down, work on that daily, and then make sure that you continue to try to level up your skills, I'm convinced, being called to integrity and committed to influence, you're going to be a lot more whole in the way you think about yourself. And then others are going to really benefit from that. So keep chasing greatness this week. Love you guys. I'll be back with you Wednesday with a Win at Home Wednesday. I got 2 little secret weapons to help you live out our question that we talk about all the time. Hit the subscribe button if you've not done that. Thanks for all those downloads. Keep commenting. It really is encouraging to us. If you have questions, things you'd like for us to address here on Mondays when it comes to winning at work, we'll get all kind of stuff with your team and your, solving problems. We'll get into all that kind of stuff we work with companies with that'll be helpful here, I think. But if you got questions about that, or even the stuff that happens at home or stuff in your life, let us know. We'd love to build some content into your questions and address some of the things that you're thinking about. But I'm convinced if you'll commit to winning at work, having great integrity, committing to influence, you're gonna really have a great life, and you really are gonna find victory when you go into that workplace. So let's keep crushing it. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Keep chasing greatness.